Welcome to the Selling Sanctuary, where feminine power meets $1,000,000 psychology. I'm your host, Mika V. What if I told you that your money blocks aren't mindset issues? They're nervous system responses to centuries of societal programming on women, with subconscious themes of being told to serve and not lead. And I call it unlearning the helpmate script due to its root in patriarchal and religious societal programming and expectations of women. Women are expected to support and assist and nurture, not lead, build, and earn. Now, there's biblical scholars have come out and said, hey, this was a misinterpretation of what this means, because this actual phrase in other places in the Bible means equal, right? So I want you to just really focus in on the fact that women and men were created equal, okay? There is no one is better than the other. And when you can realize that men should be just as capable of assisting you as it is you assist them. And one problem is when we have a societal patriarchal programming of men are there to provide and a woman is there to do everything else. A woman becomes financially codependent on a man to provide, because in her eyes the man is the money, instead of what it actually is that the masculine energy and the feminine energy in all of us, because we are multidimensional electromagnetic beings, is that your masculine is the action, right? And your masculine will go out to bring you your prosperity, and your feminine essence and men and women allow them to receive the fruits of their labor, correct? So when you realize that that is what you are, like you are supposed to be financially independent, not financially codependent, for so many different reasons. And if you are not on my TikTok definitely talks about the issues with women not being financially independent and then being in relationships, and how easily they're taken advantage of, and just it's a slew of things. So be sure to check that out. But these subconscious imprints begin in childhood, and they shape women's career, their business, and their money choices for the rest of their lives. And I want you to really I'm going to give an example of the employee, for example. So when a woman is programmed through this like helpmate script, it's like when you look for a job, you probably are overqualified for the job, but the pay for the job is low, right? And you're taking jobs that you know you are overqualified. You have a lot of schooling, you have a lot of experience, but instead you're applying to these jobs that are paying low compared to what you're worth. And then even when you get in these jobs and you realize that you are doing a lot, it's so much responsibility. Women tend to, I think it's like only 25% of women in the workforce ever negotiate their raises and their promotions. Even when they first take a job, most women do not negotiate the salary. They take the salary that they're offered instead of counter offering, because everything is up for negotiation. There's nothing fixed in stone. And then even when they take these jobs, they are expected to work overtime. And a lot of times women are like, I'm at work, and like the work is the priority, because they subconsciously believe that this is their purpose. And they'll stay at jobs that they are not fulfilled in. Like they will stay at jobs out of duty and feeling like guilt for wanting more. And this comes from messages that we're going to talk about later on of, be happy with what you have, and what you have is enough. So where men tend to job hop, they will literally job hop for, every few years to take more expansive higher opportunities and obviously more money, women tend to stay at the same job. And another reason women tend to stay at the same job is because it's like a flexible job. So when women are programmed with this helpmate script, they tend to look for jobs that allow them to be flexible with their caregiving of either their parents or their children, allowing them to take off when they need to or work from home when they need to, and all the while they're entrapping themselves. Because if they was to come out of that 9 to 5 and take all the experience and duties and talents that they have done for someone else for maybe $25 an hour, and then they go and charge $60 an hour to do that same thing, they would what we would consider collapsed time, attract the money that takes them 40 hours a week every 2 weeks bi-weekly to attract. They could attract that in a week and then take off the next week to take their parents or their children to the doctors, right? But the programming that women have is, no, you're supposed to help someone else fulfill their dream. And I'm not against you being an employee, but what I'm saying is that you should be valued. And many workplaces right now are excessively masculine, which leads to a lot of burnout, which comes with a lot of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and so many other things. So when you can realize that, like, hey, this isn't really normal. This is what's been normalized, but this isn't God or my creator's plan for my life. I was here to prosper. That's why I was planted to prosper, and I believe we are all planted to prosper. And when you can look outside of the societal programming and say, okay, wait, why do I believe this? And this is the same thing for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs for women, they tend to struggle with undercharging, over-delivering, discounting their services to the point where they tend to go out of business within the first year. And the statistics is high. It's like, I think it was like 57% of women-owned businesses don't make it to 2 years in business due to this very thing. And I always talk about trauma responses because that's like how your nervous system is responding. And another way is like feeling guilty for being ambitious, for wanting more, for wanting to be more, for wanting to have more, for wanting to do more. Women experience a lot of, I would say, guilt around that. And that's not normal because men are encouraged to, go and get everything that they want and go and, grab life by the horns. And women, on the other hand, are programmed to serve and not lead. And women tend to avoid leadership positions and avoid being in the spotlight when they have this type of helpmate script programming. And it's almost like they're waiting to be saved or, quote unquote, provided for. So it's always like they're looking out for a man to come and save the day. And there's no man who's going to save you. You have to save yourself. This is important for women to just come back to and realize that, you are capable of saving yourself. You are capable of providing for yourself. The fact that you don't believe that is only because of the helpmate programming. That's it. And I want you to really think about this part when I talk about how your nervous system is and how it responds in your body when you have this type of programming. Your body doesn't feel safe holding power or receiving money. So you tend to shy away from positions that would offer you more money. You get looked over for promotions because subconsciously you don't feel safe having that power because it wasn't motivated, it wasn't modeled in your childhood. So your body interprets leadership as dangerous. And dysregulation of your nervous system leads to procrastination, inconsistency, and avoidance. So even if you on a conscious level, get into a position like that, subconsciously, because your nervous system is dysregulated, because it feels like being in leadership isn't safe, you will actually subconsciously self-sabotage that position. And it's so detrimental for women when they are, trying to be financially independent. And this is why I am so passionate about getting this type of information out, because it's literally life or death for women to know what is going on, what is their programming. And you really need to like watch the subconscious messages too. Like, don't be materialistic. Okay, yes, don't value physical things. You should know that like your creator has created you, and it is a connection that you have to your creator, that your creator is always your source. So it's like, yes, you shouldn't worship physical things, but it's okay to have nice things. Like, literally, God wants you to have an abundant life. Literally, what is it, Psalm 23, you lack nothing. So understanding that message actually tells women to don't want nice things. If you're programmed with that from childhood, you're going to have guilt and shame every time you attract something on a conscious level, a position or a opportunity in your business. You're going to pretty much have guilt and shame around it, and you're going to subconsciously sabotage the position and the opportunity so that your body feels safe. And this is why I'm very big on nervous system regulation and being aware of like what's going on and how you feel. But also things like, it's better to trust men with your money, because like they're better with money and men know how to put it, and you can't really trust yourself. Women are literally told not to trust themselves by society. A woman could be in labor, and this happened to me. I was in labor, and I had a male doctor tell me, well, you've never had a baby before. You don't know what labor is like. I was definitely in labor. So when I say women have to be their own advocate throughout life, it's so true. And I think Diana Ross says, she's one of my favorites, and she literally says that like nobody is going to bring you your dreams. You have to go after them yourself. And that is important, not falling victim to be grateful for what you have. Yes, be grateful for what you have. However, you can always have more, and you should always envision yourself with more. It should always be elevation, not this whole like, well, what you have is this, and that should be good enough. Why are you not content? When women have this type of programming, not only would this cause them to be financially codependent on other people, whether it's their parents or whether it's a man, but it will also cause them to attract partners who are really not good people. But it'd be like, well, he does this, so like you should be grateful or you should be content. No, if you're not happy with someone, you should have what you want. And this other programming of you don't get to have it all, you get to pick. And there's like this comparison of whether you're a good mom and you're a stay-at-home mom, or whether you're a successful boss, business owner, and have a successful career, but then you're not a good mom because someone else is watching your kids and all this. And women have so much societal pressure, and when you can realize that you have to do for you. Some women, their thing, their niche, their energy is actually magnetized when they're with their kids. So them being a stay-at-home mom for a certain period of the time and then going out in business is going to make them just like a dynamic leader. Some women, that's not their thing. Some women, no, they should not be with their kids, 24/7. That is not going to create that dynamic that they need to thrive. So this nonsense, women get to have it all, and you get to have it your way. There is not a one way to do anything. There is not. And that lie just needs to be like just completely forgotten, because I just hate it. You don't have to choose. Okay, you get to have it all. You can have a successful career and be an amazing mom. You can have a successful business and be an amazing mom. You don't even have to be a mom, okay? Because that's another thing. Sometimes it's like, women's worth is devalued if they don't have kids and a husband. Again, your value is because of who you are. It is not so much as what you have, what you're offering someone else, Age of Aquarius is really shining light on that, and I love it. It's amazing. You're capable of doing amazing things, right? But you don't have to do it on your own. And it's almost like that the help doesn't get help, you know? When you have this helpmate programming, a lot of times it's like you subconsciously don't want to ask people for help because of this programming. Where you're not going to thrive as a leader, either in corporate America or as a leader in your own business, without having help, resources, collaborations, a team. Even if you're starting out as a one-man team, you're going to expand eventually to a two-man team. That's almost essential from the beginning, honestly. This is why you should outsource service, like things that you need to provide your services, you should outsource them. And I'm also going to throw in there that if you have a business idea that you are it's just the passion is oozing out of you, but you're not tech savvy and you don't even know where to start to bring your passion and your idea into this realm of like a physical business and service or brand, I do have done for you business launches. The link I'll put in the description, but again, nothing should limit you, okay? You can do, so if you can't do it yourself, outsource it. And this is also why I teach on money. So if you are like, well, that sounds great, but right now I'm broke and I can't afford it, cool. I also have a freebie when you sign up for my newsletters where I actually give you different journal prompts and things to help you, just mindset work and nervous system regulation activities, and so that you can mix both, because everything is not mindset. You have to include the body, and like when you have that body-mind connection, like whoa, and it's just like in the Bible where it says the two become one. Anything you ask in my nature, that will you receive. So if that's your thing, and right now you're like, this sounds great, but I'm broke, that is a freebie. It's called Planet to Prosper, and it actually teaches you how to do reality creation to open yourself up for more prosperity. So I will drop that link in the bio as well. But I want you to realize that help is essential. Collaboration and networking is fundamental for business success, okay? And that's I would say like a major factor in why women-owned businesses don't typically thrive, okay? You have to be okay with being helped, all right? And if you are a Bible reader, Proverbs 31, you need to reread it every single night. Look at God's standard for your life. She had maid servants, handmaids, who took care of her kids, who cleaned her house, who took care of everything. Yes, her husband was financially a good financial provider, but she also was a businesswoman. She was an entrepreneur. She had multiple businesses. She bought land for investment and sold it for a profit. She made things with her hands, garments and things like that, and sold it in the market. She was very creative, and she had her hands on a little bit of everything. So again, don't fall for the, you should only do one thing. And no, okay? We are multi-talented. We have many gifts, okay? Just like when Christ says, my Father's house has many mansions, okay? You are gifted. You are gifted. And again, freebie, that is going to be in the email sign up, and I will link that in the description for you. If you also don't know why you have the money trauma you have, and you're like, I don't know why I'd be attracting crazy stuff that just take my money away, I also have a free money trauma quiz on my website. As soon as you get there, the link, it should pop up so you can take it, and you'll get an email with that information as well. And I also have an individual page for that, and I'll drop that if you have pop-ups, disabled on your phone, I'll put the link in there in the description. Because it's time for us to rewrite the script. Leadership isn't a betrayal of your femininity. It is an embodiment of it. And again, like Proverbs 31, a woman should be financially independent. And I get that we are not taught this. This is why I also, give out that freebie resource, because it's important. And it's not a one and done. Your financial independence, when you're constantly elevating, it's not going to just be a one and done deal. Like, it sounds great, right? But that's not actually how it works. we have to constantly, every time I've leveled up and like a point in my business is like, you know, when I was an entrepreneur, you know, 5 or 6 years ago and doing, you know, photography. And then I did a run club. And then I had this money trauma that I didn't really understand. So I closed those businesses. And then it wasn't until a few years later, because I was also a stay-at-home mom during this time. So these were like, again, the careers in which, you know, it's like flexible, right? A few years later, I went to corporate America and I did make good money, right? But I was basically project manager without project manager pay, and it was considered class manager. And that really taught me a lot, but it gave me the ability to reinvest my money that I was making in corporate America to get training, to get coaching, and to level up what I felt like my vibration around money was, right? And then what ended up happening? I left that job, I started a business, and it blew up. I literally replaced my money and more. So when I tell you that it's possible, it's because I've done it, but I had to do a lot of the work. And I didn't realize that your nervous system regulation is essential. A lot of times coaches, I feel like, don't tell you that. They'll have you buying like all these different guides, courses, and all this stuff, and they never say. And that's why you probably be like, why does she always talk about nervous system regulation? Because, honey, that is the foundation. If your body doesn't feel safe with money, I can teach you the best strategies in the world. But if your body is like, nope, we don't feel safe with $250,000 a year, guess what? You are not going to be able to either attract that money or hold it. You might attract it, but not hold it. Or you might not do any of it. And that's why I'm like, hey, more women need to be financially independent. Every woman on this earth should be financially independent, which is why I give out such good free resources. But you have to make your mind up. You have to get clear. You have to decide enough is enough. I'm tired of this. And I don't care what age you are. Understand, this is not an age-related opportunity, okay? You are promised wealth in your old age in the Bible, okay? So this idea that like, oh, maybe I'm, 55 years old and I feel like I'm, too old to learn something new or learn a new skill. Okay, cool. Do you understand that there are a lot of freelancers who will volunteer, offer their services and or volunteer their services to help you? There is resources out there, but you're not going to see anything that you're not open to receiving. And that's another thing. And I'll probably do another video on that later on this week about visibility and opportunities and your reticular activating system, which is a part of our brain. But I'm going to do that on a different video. But the unlearning begins with awareness and nervous system regulation and self-trust. All right, so it means you have to, again, like I said, get clarity. You have to decide enough is enough. You got to trust yourself to be able to do this, to follow through, to become financially independent, to regulate your nervous system, to have self-care, to put yourself first. Because we've also been programmed to put everybody above us. And we're overworked and we're underpaid and we're burnt out. And those are not the conditions that are going to allow us to regulate our nervous system. Actually, those are signs that your nervous system is dysregulated, right? So that's not going to allow us to regulate our nervous system and receive more money. And I want you to really reclaim your ability to lead and earn and be seen as powerful without guilt, because you are power. And the Bible tells us that, God didn't give you the spirit of fear, but of power and a sound mind. So, power is your birthright. How are you going to be quiet? How are you going to be quiet, doing for everyone else, but not being seen, and lend to many but borrow from none, as the Bible says? You can't do that. You can't. It's impossible. So until you really realize that, this is required. Like, you have to get outside yourself and your fears and your nervous system, saying like, I don't want to do this, I'm scared, this is the unknown. And you have to move through the fear. Like I usually say, move through it, because your goals and your dreams are on the other side of that fear. I promise you they always are. And that's why you're afraid, is because you've never had it. But if this is the first time you're hearing any of my episodes, please check out, I think it's episode number 4, about your trauma responses and your money, because I go into depth on that as well. And I have a guide on it called Reparenting Yourself Guide. It's an instant download. It is amazing. It has so much information on this concept, because again, we have to reparent ourselves, because all of this programming came throughout our childhood, and our subconscious programming is basically from like 8 years old down to when we're in our mother's womb. We're like energetically picking up all these cues and like what's normal and what's not normal, and then any quote unquote traumas along the way, and like sometimes even like really excited things that impress our subconscious mind along the way. But you definitely have to make a decision to put yourself first. And if this episode felt like an autobiography of your life, you're not alone. We all go through this programming to a certain extent, no matter whether we come from the lower class, the middle class, the upper middle class, or, what they consider the, upper class, high class. Regardless, we all have some type of this programming, and we see it everywhere. Tracy Ellis Ross, although she has all this money, she would be considered, your high class, right? She is constantly talking about and speaking up on the societal programming that like almost a woman doesn't have worth or value in her life if she's not a mother or she's not someone's wife, or partner. And she's like, this is crazy. Do you realize what you're telling younger women? And I'm like, exactly. It is crazy. It is time to reclaim your throne. And if you are struggling and you're like, I don't even know where to start, this is all new to me, I created three resources to help you rediscover your true power, your authentic nature, and prosperity. One, I told you about the freebie for signing up for the newsletters, right? That is called Planet to Prosper. And that teaches you how to change your reality based off of 3 things. It is your state of quote unquote believing, your state of being, and your state of receiving. And I explain those in depth for a biblical application of metaphysics. Another resource is obviously the ebook I created, Unlearning the Helpmate Script to Thrive Financially as a Woman. It's about 76 pages long. It is amazing, with just reading it before you go to bed, reading it to kind of like give yourself a mental break. It is going to be amazing to help you become aware of the programming, because it's going to give you real life examples from like myself and from just laws that were put in place. The way that women, society as a whole, has changed what women were quote unquote allowed to have throughout the years. Like, I mean, in a way it is, historical content. It's like real life application content. It's experiences that I've seen my grandparents, especially my grandmothers, go through, things of that nature. So that is a fantastic resource. I also have a instant access guide with journal prompts, and if you have the ability to like type right on your screen, you can literally download the journal and fill out the journal prompts right in the PDF. But if you don't have a PDF app, then you can like write them, look at the questions and write them down in your journal. But it's called the ABCs of Wealth Activation for women, because you need to know that like ambition is safe, boldness, confidence. You need to know why these character traits are important. And pretty much I give you 26, A to Z character traits of wealth activation. That's I think it's like $7 on my website. And then, like, obviously I talked about the reparenting yourself guide. So, I mean, these are not crazy expensive access, like, you know, I would say resources. We spend that on coffee, we spend that on food, DoorDash that we're never going to get back. But you have to make the decision that you are worthy, that you're tired of experiencing the same subconscious loops financially over and over again, and you're ready to make a change. And I'm telling you, you won't regret it, because again, we are planted to prosper. That is our birthright. You want to be that faithful servant where you took your gifts that were in you and you know, multiplied them and you brought in abundance. We need more good people with money. We do, as a whole. That's men and women, but specifically women. And we have to change the programming that we are saying to our girls. And this is why I'm very big on teaching this, because this is what we consider the generational curses, that we subconsciously just generation after generation, you know, and their Age of Aquarius is about disruption. So it's time for us to disrupt this societal programming so that we can have more women reclaim their throne and thrive independently, so they can be in beautiful relationships. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, you think it's not related, but the partner that you have is related to your relationship with money. Men and money are interconnected. And I promise you that when you become financially independent, the type of man that you will attract is going to be different as well, because now you're not going to be looking through the viewpoint of, is this man a good provider? Is, you know, are my survival needs being met by this man? Okay, and that's all your check marks. It's going to be more expanded things on, is he a great business partner? You know, because your family is always a business. That's what living a legacy is, right? Is he a good business partner? Is he a good companion? You know, does he truly value me? Is he emotionally available? Is he emotionally secure? Is he going to belittle me and feel some type of way because of how much money I make? Is he going to be intimidated by my money? You know, you need to know that too. You need to know, what does this guy truly believe? What is he going to teach if we have children? What is he going to teach our children? Who is this person really? And I'm going to tell you another thing. You're going to find out who a man really is when he can't offer you money. He has to offer you everything else besides money. And that's why so many times women are like, yeah, you know, I went through this, and that. But when I started my business, or I got, you know, this 6-figure job or whatever, you know, I noticed that it's like, maybe I'll be single for a while. Maybe I don't really need a man. That's why they initially say that. And it's because of the programming. But I want to give examples like Tabitha Brown. She had a man who seems to have offered more than being a financial provider, because through their interviews, it sounded like he was very emotionally supportive, and he was also emotionally secure. So when she did that income leap, he was able to stay right there. They was able to just, you know, ride that experience together. And that's beautiful. So I'm not telling you that, like, oh my gosh, if you're in a marriage and, you know, you weren't financially independent, no. But what I'm saying is that sometimes women only marry for survival needs. And when those survival needs are met through her and not a man, she might find herself in a very interesting predicament. So that's what I mean by that. But until next time, ladies, stand in your femininity, your power, and your God-given wealth.